You were talking about how we learn the mobility of the body and Bigfoot
Right,
and the
yeah.
purpose of it and how
Well,
it evolved.
let me go back to Mars. We were on Mars, and we get the Bigfoot on Mars. Okay, so first of all, on Mars, they had these creatures. The Bigfoot had extra long arms, and this is a large creature, which we've seen enough information now to know that they're, by their footprints and so forth, that they're a pretty large creature. So what they do is all new souls. Now I'm talking way back in history when they decided that they needed new souls for a balance in the universe, so that through the energy of all of them, which is the God energy, they create new souls. The new souls have to learn the mobility of the body, how to move it, okay? They're just a soul, they're a spark of energy, of light. They have to learn everything, but they definitely, if they're going to go to Earth, they have to learn the mobility of the body. So they put several of these souls into the Bigfoot body. The Bigfoot lives a very long time. In this long period of time, they can be very useful for the universe's work. So after the mobility of the body, and once they learn this process, they get the feeling from within that body that this is how they have to work to move a body. And, we see they do that as they grow and progress when they do arrive here on Earth. Then these souls go back to the universe. There they are taught and taken care of by the angels. All angel souls teach new souls. And they're teaching them about the animals, about nature, and about growing things, about flowers, about water and trees, and everything that is on Earth. They're teaching them all there is to learn about Earth. And this is a long process to learn this, these souls to learn this, because again, you must realize the soul does not have a body. It's just a light, a physical light. And then when they are ready, they then reincarnate on the Earth in an Earth body. The first ones that were on Earth, you call them Neanderthals. Neanderthals. The Neanderthals, the first souls, they were ape-like looking creatures. And they were the Bigfoot that they brought to the Earth. And they allowed them to live here, but they all looked alike. They all looked alike, and they had souls in, and they were doing, but nothing. There wasn't the attraction for one another that they expected, and they just were very animalistic, if you will. They just hadn't gone through it. When we spoke of this to the universal teachers, we got to a certain point. I believe it was Mary Todd Lincoln who was telling us all about this, because she says, we just decided that this is not working, and we got to change this. This is not working. These souls are not making the progress that we expected. There doesn't seem to be the sex and the attraction to one another to create more bodies so that they can multiply and all that kind of stuff. So they decided that they would pick the best female and the best male out of these creatures. And in their way, they have a way that we could not understand, and still to this day, it may take us 1,000 years yet to still understand how this is done. They can cleanse the hair from the body. They cleanse the hair, they actually shorten the arms. This is over a period of time of working, and made the creature a little bit less than what it was as far as size is concerned and so forth. And they created the first man and the first woman, which we called and have created to call, that has been given down through the messengers of the ages, as Adam and Eve, the first man and woman on Earth. Who was Adam again? Jesus. Who was Eve again? Queen Victoria. They were Adam and Eve. They came to start the life on the Earth as we know it. And as they progressed, they lost more and more of the hair from the body and become more attracted to one another. This was to create an attraction for one another. There'd be no attraction otherwise. Attraction for one another to multiply.
Yeah, because I'm really attracted to beautiful women.
There you go.
It makes me make a lot of progress because I do things I would never do otherwise.
Right, and it's that drive in you, see. So it's an inner desire that has been created for one another, and in order to create man as we know it. Now, we know a little story. We have no records as to exactly what time it was. There was a Cain and an Abel, and one killed the other.
Cain killed Abel.
Cain killed Abel. And that was the start of the first, if you want to call it, mistake. Well, they were just perfect before. But when you go taking another soul's life, that's a mistake. You're responsible for it. That's called the first murder. And so that created negativity, stopped the progress, and that has to be corrected. And it kept going all through the ages. This is a long, long time, a long period of time, that all this has been happening and going on. We lived here on this earth, we, mankind, among the dinosaurs. Man caused the dinosaurs to become extinct by polluting their purity of nature, the purity of the body, and killing these animals. It's man who created this. And eventually they became extinct. There's talk about some big bang, all these big bang theories all the time. Something happens and an asteroid comes and they all go at once and things like that. It's not. It was all over a period of time. When I said, oh, I love those beautiful dinosaurs, they said, Ron, when you come back home again, we'll take you to our planet in another universe where it's nothing but dinosaurs and they all live in peace and you'll just love it. I said, I know, I look forward to that day. So that is the start, that's the connection of Bigfoot to man. And we all came from that as a human being, and we have advanced according to our lessons. Some taller, some shorter, everything has a reason. Everything has a purpose. A lot of times when we've been here the second and the third time, we pick the similar body that we had in the last life. If we were a big, a Goliath type, robust person, we'll have that same kind of desire right here. We're working out at the gym all the time, and we're just getting that body together. And so if we had the opposite, something wrong in our lessons where we have to attract another person in order to learn these lessons, you'll be given that attraction. You'll be given that good looks, if you will. There's an explanation for everything. I asked that one question about the looks, and they explained, it came into about, gosh, how many pages just explaining about how the looks are chosen and how we choose everything. We choose to be male or we choose to be female.
Aren't they earned as well?
And it's earned, and you keep earning, and you earn what you've got and what you're getting. Now, if you say, when you're coming, you say, I have a lot of lessons to do. I want to have a hard life so that I can get this all cleaned up in this lifetime. You have no idea what happens when you get here and what the hard life is going to be.
Yeah, most people wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't do it if you knew that, see? So you would turn that off. So it's bad enough as it is trying to get you to listen and pay attention and make some progress. So they're not going to tell you this. They're going to let it happen when you get here. Then you realize we have this homosexuality. We talked about sex.
Just going to cover that.
Which really is made out of a big nothing, because there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. There's all a reason and connection. Most of that is because of the lessons they have to learn. They choose a certain hard life or a certain way of life without knowing what the way is in order to learn the lessons. So everyone needs to learn from them and everyone else to be tolerant, to be acceptant to all people, all colors, all races, and all people. That's what we have. That's what we're all learning. We're all learning how to get along. We're all brothers and sisters to one another. We all come from the same source. We're all going back to the same universe and move on and on and on, higher and higher planes and levels. And we've got so much to look forward to. So we need to really get with it in this generation, get on with our lives. They also could come as a little dwarf. That's a hard life when you think that you're a lot smaller than them. Any kind of a freaky looking individual. There's people that have hair on still like the Bigfoot, all over their bodies, and they're shaving, they're doing everything trying to cure this so-called disease.
Yes, there was a film named Fur about that.
Fur, yeah. See, so there's lots of work being done on this earth to try to work along with the things that are happening to change and to help and assist others. There are souls that are still walking on their fours and haven't learned how to stand up yet. I saw a film on that just recently. That's just the progress of the soul. Hasn't made any progress. But there's people helping them. In a couple of years, they made railings for them and told them walk with these railings and you can learn to walk, stand up straight. And they come back 2 years later and they see that these people are walking on their twos. You know, so these are the parts of the lessons. It's all lessons.
Okay, and I just, because you covered it briefly, but that's the next thing I was going to segue into. If you could cover race and homosexuality, because it's such a big issue in America and all over the earth, if you could cover more about that and the universe's view on that. It made a lot of sense to me what you said about the soul choosing that to learn the lessons that it came here for. But could you please elaborate more on race?
I will, because they don't necessarily choose that life. They choose a hard way of life, a certain way, and because of the hard way, that's what they end up having as their life. So they need to be accepted. We make too much out of it. We make too much, and we cause so many problems on the earth because of it. And it's just a soul exercising its own free choice, its own free will. They have that lifestyle and they want that. That's up to them, and that's theirs. We have to be allowance to all these people on this earth, whatever they do, to accept them That's what our lessons are. All our lessons are that, to accept one another and not segregate everything. No matter what color or creed or whatever they believe, you all have to just accept everyone. And that's the hardest lesson to learn. We have to be patient with that one, especially. And not put people down. Whatever we put out in our own thoughts, in our own way, is going to come back to us. It's like a boomerang. You've got to go around, and it'll come right back and slap you down so that you, maybe in the hospital, something terrible happens, and you really get a chance to think things through, think how you're going to live, and you're going to make a change in your life. You may lose your whole home, your belongings and everything, and you've got to think, oh my gosh, how am I going to start over? What am I going to do? I've got to change the way I'm living. The earthquake comes and shakes you, and everybody in the fear gets to that point, turns in within and says, I've got to change, I've got to change, I know I've got to change. Everybody knows, and they will eventually do it.
What about a scenario like our friend Bobby Ray, who got Lou Gehrig's disease? And you're talking about a guy who was a smart, good, warm person, and it's hard for me to accept that such a nice person could get such a horrible disease.
Well, that disease is part of the lessons that he agreed to do and take care of before he came. And the disease is only the vehicle in which he learned those lessons. When you pass the universe, your lesson is complete. You've done it. And you're so grateful for going through that time that was really kind of a hell on earth, if you will. Speaking of hell, there is no such thing as a hell. There's no such thing as a Satan. There's no such place. It does not exist. It's all been created in man's mind. And it's only souls that are not thinking straight that create that way. And they could be called evil because they're not thinking right, not on the right path. No, all disease is there for a reason and a purpose. I had an aunt that had all her life, she had epilepsy. And now she's making great progress in the universe, and she's so happy, not sick anymore, and none of that. And I've had communication, you see, when you have the doors open to beyond, and you have this wonderful gift, you can definitely really, really receive the things that you want. You need to ask for it. Ask. Be careful with what you ask, because you're liable to get it. Ask and make sure you really sincerely want it. Let it go. Give it to the universe, and universal souls will come and help and bring it to you. That's how your life unfolds. Ask and you will receive. You've heard that so many times. And listen. The key is ask and listen. Two keys here. Ask and listen. Listen and then listen. Listen for the thoughts that come in your mind. Listen for the ideas you get. Listen to the dreams that you get. Try to decipher your dreams. Ask when you get a dream, help me to remember the important messages in this dream for me to use at the time that I may need it. At the time that may need me, because you get everything in advance. So 2 weeks later, something comes up and you'll say, wow, that was that dream. Now I understand. I'm part of it. I'm here with my self and the universe at all times. The universe is always there helping. We're always trying to hear everything that we ask and say and want to do in our lives. They hear it. Nothing goes amiss. Nothing. We can never escape anything we ever do. We think we get away with things. They know everything that we do. All your teachers, everybody's got their own teachers and so forth, and those teachers know what you have to do to undo at all times. So you can't just go out and keep doing what you're doing without somebody knowing about it, thinking you're getting away with it. Anyway, I think that covers it pretty good. Unless you got a little more to ask on that subject?
Yeah, speaking of asking, because I know for a lot of people, another thing that's been so big and part of my learning is in asking for money, because we use it on this plane, and it's a symbol of exchange, and it's so necessary to sustain our life here. I mean, you literally can't live without it. You need some form of it to exist. So it's such a pressure and cause of a lot of problems, because we all need it, and it gives people power over other people when they have it. So could we talk about that, because that's something that comes up for me daily.
Yeah, first I want to say about money, that I bring in the new dimension that we talked of, the new earth. There is no money there. There will be no more money for us at all. There is no money. They want the end of it. They want people to live in peace and harmony. There's no corruption. There's no computers. There's no governments. There's none of the things that are causing us to be following something else and someone else, but following our heart in that new dimension. So the same thing is here. As you progress and earn everything that you learn and undo, it's an learning process, you're earning, you need to ask for what you need to do to bring this to you. And then the listening is to follow every step that comes along. The first step is say, well, maybe I need to get a job. Maybe I need to go to work somewhere. Maybe I need to try to, what can I do? Oh yeah, I'm good at this. So you start pursuing. You follow your interests, and that's how you'll get the help. And one step takes you to the next step and the next step, and this is how you bring everything to you. It just does not come falling out of the sky. It doesn't exist in the universe.
But what about those people?
What about, you have to make it happen.
Well, what about those people that
have it,
or not have it, or say, take somebody for instance who is
or have made it,
athlete, and they have nothing, and then in a moment they signed a multi-million-dollar contract, and they're not hurting anybody, they're just playing a game, and they receive that great amount of money at once after not having anything.
Yes. Now, are there those also that you've heard that have had this and have lost it all?
Sure.
Yes. That's because they're not using it properly. If you're given these wonderful gifts and you misuse it, it's taken away from you. If you've been through a hard life in your past life, and you've been given the opportunity to really have a good life this time, because you say you can have money in this lifetime because you had such a hard life in the last life, then you don't use the money properly. You use it in a greedy, selfish way to make more and more, and I want more and more and more. Then you start losing it. It's being taken away from you. That's what happens.
But what about the people who do retain their money, that are evil, do evil things and hurt other people with it, and just are greedy, and they still live a full life?
If that is causing a great deal of work in helping other souls to get on with their life and their lessons, they will allow it. They allow all these things to happen. Even these murders, to be murdering, is allowed as long as there's progress to be made by those around them. Let's take one disease. It's called Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease, people lose their memory. In the old days, it just said it's old age, which is true. What happens is the soul's progressing so far, and then all of a sudden they stop with their lessons, and they stop continuing. They're getting on in years, and they still got so many years left, good years left, that they can make changes in their life. Okay? And they stop. The Alzheimer's goes on. When you stop your lessons and stop your progress, then you get Alzheimer's disease. You can't remember nothing. Now, all the people around you, all the family, and even other strangers even, are caregivers and will take care of you and watch out for you and whatever. And as they're doing that work, it's souls working on behalf of another soul, and they're making progress.
There's nothing wasted.
Nothing wasted. All these souls are making progress, and they're leaving you here in the body yet while your body's still good. Then eventually the body maybe gives out, and then it goes on to the universe. If there are souls that are hanging around you again from the earth plane, and there are many souls all over this earth plane that are earthbound souls that refuse to go on and clinging and think the same way as another by your thoughts and where you're at, they're around there. The same kind of souls that don't know where they are, who they are, or what they are. They grab onto all those souls and get them on their right track if they will then listen. Again, they cannot listen, they can pull back to earth again, because that's all they know. They don't know anything else but earth, so they pull back to earth. There are souls that have been here for millions of years that are still hanging around the earth. There are souls at the time of Atlantis that have not left the earth yet. They're still clinging to the earth. There are souls that did leave the earth, go into darkness, and are being brought back to the earth to get it cleaned up. So all these old souls are all here to learn and to progress. There's no new souls been coming to this earth for over 500 years. They have never sent a new soul back to earth. All new souls now, after they pass the progress in the universe, working with the angels, go to the new dimension. And they work from that new dimension on to higher planes. But they don't know anything about corruption, they know nothing about computers, know nothing about money.
Okay.
Money, see?
Let's segue now into colors, and first can we talk about animals on the earth plane and what purpose the animals serve and how we need to appreciate them more, and the cleansing that they do of negativity. The cleansing of negativity, and especially the birds and the dolphins and very spiritual animals.
Well, let's start from the wildest animal first. You know, the tigers, the lions, and even the big elephant and all those creatures from way back. They're very special animals. They're all sent here as messengers. All animals come as messengers. An animal soul is always an animal soul. A human soul is always a human soul. A tree soul is always a tree, you know. I mean, you can't change these things or interchange them. Everything has its own soul. Every insect, every bit of life. So these animals have their soul and they have their lessons. They know what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to warn us in that wild way. Watch yourself. Take care. Be careful. Don't come near. This is my territory, not yours. And all that kind of stuff. They're protecting their own area and they don't want to have anything to do. If you threaten them and come onto them, then they will attack and kill. And that's been happening all through history. The animal is there for a purpose and a lesson. Now it progresses through all the wild kingdom, one after another, as it learns its lessons. And eventually it becomes what we know as a pet. A dog, a cat, even a bird. But let's do the dog and cat first. Dog and cat can be with you from a previous life and come back again in this life. The same soul, just the soul. It may come back as a dog this time, or it could come back as a bird, depending on what the need is. It will be there. And it's always there for you. You're like their master. They've been assigned to you. And the angels give them all the messages, and they listen. We don't listen, but those animals do listen. And they know when someone's around, negativity around, the animal will jump up and bark or whatever, and you don't see nothing around. They just say, get out of here, whoever walks in the house, walking by. And then when they become, after going through the process of a pet, and giving love. They give in unconditional love and teach us love. They're all little teachers, all these animals. And then they become a free soul. And then they go into a bird. And as a bird, they're a free soul, and they cleanse negativity in crowds. And you've seen these birds flying around in circles and circles. And some go in a figure eight. And some go in all different patterns. We had one day here over top of us a whole tribe of crows. The crows are the generals in the bird kingdom. They give the orders. They wake up all birds in the morning with the clicking, clicking sound, and then all of a sudden it's the big cawing noise that we can hear. It's kind of annoying, but it's there. Get to work. And they tell all the birds to get to work. And the birds to get up and they start cleaning the negativity and cleansing the area. You see them a lot around intersections, so we don't have so many fender benders. Everything has a purpose. And you look out now and you appreciate them. We need to appreciate them instead of abusing and kill them. Teddy Roosevelt wrote also in our books, and he's the one that's responsible for all our national parks. And he said he did enough hunting in his day just to understand the animals, and that was complete. But he wished he had passed more orders in Washington to protect these animals. Now it's just killing for the fun. There's no need for hunting. Hunting should not be done. We're losing there. They're becoming extinct, the animals on the earth, because of that. After the bird, they go into the sea. And they're all our wonderful sea creatures and animals in the sea. The greatest soul in the sea is the porpoise. The porpoise comes from Venus, and it's a very loving planet. It was brought into our universe from another universe for love, and it was brought in like Mars. Mars was brought into our universe too, to create for the Bigfoot. And so it was brought into our universe for love, and those souls, they only reincarnate from Venus into porpoises to cleanse the water. And whenever a soul is out in the ocean, they will guard them to keep the sharks away and the other dangerous predators. But the larger the animal, the more spiritual. These wonderful big whales, we're always seeing them beach. What's happening? We're polluting their waters. And they can't clean it fast enough, to keep it clean. So they die. That's the way it is. So we gotta make the changes. There's a lot of groups working in that direction that are trying to do changes like this. Wonderful, isn't it, when you think of it?
And something that you'd always told me, that it goes back all the way to where we were talking about the Bigfoot, that there's different shades of colors, and those colors represent progress. And the abominable snowman does exist in that it's a white color, and that's the highest form. Mm-hmm. The Yeti, that's the highest form. But it also goes, and for me, like driving through Hollywood and seeing even pigeons, I always see this group of pigeons for years, the same flock, in different places, but I always see them, and there's a group of them, but there's one that's mixed with white, and then there's one that's pure white. Could you tell us about that?
White is the highest. And anything that accomplishes the white, they have earned the level of the highest. So that white pigeon is a leader in that group. Everyone follows that white pigeon. Did you ever notice when they've done around the pigeons, everybody says they make such a mess? Well, the universe apologizes for that. That's unfortunately the nature of what happens. They drop the droppings here and there. But the pigeons, when they finish their work and they've done their cleansing in the area or entire neighborhoods, you watch them all sit on a wire. They're all sitting on the wires. I never could understand when I was young how they could sit on the wire and don't get electrocuted. It's in the water, it doesn't bother. But you notice they give each one their space. That's another lesson, teaching us, give everyone on this earth their space. The birds have their space, so much space between them, just like they've all lined up like soldiers, like right in a line, and they're just picking their own little fleas or feathers or whatever, and just, they're resting. And that's usually late in the day, after the 5 o'clock rush hour. You'll see them on the wires. Take note. Watch. It's very real. Everything has happening for a purpose. Now we want to talk about also a little bit more about angels while we're at that. These birds are, listen to the angels, and the angels do their work. Angels are good souls that are good, and they do volunteer to come into the body. Whenever a child is lost, very young, maybe baby, maybe 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old or something, and they found floating in the pool because somebody has some stuff. We're just talking about angels and how young children that leave the earth by some accident or kind of young, and people say, my God, they were an angel. Why did God take this child from me? And God did not take the child. The child was an angel that volunteered to come into the family to teach the parents and get them back on their track. Angels are not allowed to stay on this earth very long when they do volunteer to come into the body, because they don't want them to corrupt. Once the soul is corrupt, it takes thousands of years to get them uncorrupt. So they pull them off the earth before corruption. So the longest an angel would stay in the body would maybe be early 20s, sometimes a little later 20s, very seldom into the 30s, but teenager, very young, early 20s, mid 20s. And everyone that is an angel, we always know, simply because they're good souls. And you see the goodness in them, and you say, why did this have to happen? This young athlete all of a sudden drops dead with a heart attack on the football field, or whatever. You hear these stories, and now you understand that they have a reason. They're an angel, and before they start getting in corrupt ways, and maybe into drugs or whatever it would be at that age, someone influenced them and they may go astray, they call them back to the universe. And it goes very fast. When you're called back to the universe, you go quickly. It's not a long, drawn-out disease. If it is usually a disease or an infliction, a lot of times it's an angel that is just doing that to show the necessity of the lessons for the parents. Now we have another part of angels, and that is in Africa. In Africa, we see pictures all the time of these starving children. They're nothing but skin and bone. They even lean by the roadside. You see them laying there just starving to death and dying. And they keep having more and more children, and these children are not getting fed, and they're trying to plead with the world to send food and so forth to feed these children and care for them. They're all angels. All the hundreds of millions that have been coming all through the years have all been angels, all volunteering to teach those people responsibility. Those mothers and fathers need to grow their own food, get on with their own life, and find ways to feed their own children like everybody has all through history. Instead, they live for handouts. Must be handouts. They don't want to take any responsibility. They don't want to take any responsibility for the children, and they say, I have no food for it. Their excuse is just let it lay there to die. And that is not hurting the soul at all. These are all good souls, all angel souls that are there just to teach us, just to teach those great lessons. So there's a great lesson behind everything. Nothing is for coincidence or an accident. There's no such thing. No such thing as an accident. It all has reason and purpose. And the angels, by the way, come from the 8th plane. We haven't talked about the planes going way up higher than the astral plane. The astral plane is the first plane. Second plane is the Demish plane. Third plane is the Marvel plane. Isn't it interesting we have a Marvel comic strip? Yeah, where did that name come from? These are dimension names. So maybe some of those Marvel stories came from that Marvel plane, the third plane. Someone was open and receiving that information in order to bring all these Marvel comic books and have a